So up first will be just a filler page. This is the end of my November stories, and I'm moving into December stories. So I'm just going to adhere this photo on the back. I'm also going to add in the Santa transparency from the 6x8 pack. I hadn't ordered it originally. I thought I would do it digitally, but the transparency that I have at home right now, it didn't turn out very well, or I didn't think it did. So I added it to my cart during the subscription period for the Scrapbook by the Month kits this month. It probably won't be here before December, so I'll do that page in January, but that's the plan right now. That it'll just be a little divider, little resting spot in the album just to show that there's two different parts, the November part and the December part. I'm just adding, I put red line tape down first around the edges, and then I'm just going around with a little bit of glue just to make sure that it is nice and secure around each of the edges where the shaker box is a bit heavy. This was just a photo took outside of the market that day, a real tree with some lights in it. And you can see the market in the back, which I thought was kind of cool. Just a simple little page. I'm just going to add a die cut and one of the plastic stars onto here. Those plastic stars do have that little film of plastic on them, so you'll see me taking that off. It's fairly easy to see on these ones. Sometimes it's hard to tell on the transparencies whether they have a film or not, but these ones are fairly simple. And then next, I'm just going to add a tiny attacher staple to the middle of the star. I probably should have done that before I adhered the photo, but it's fine. I just did the staple, and then I'll add a glue dot to the back. It's me here pushing it onto the glue dot and then adhering that down. And then that little die cut that says "in this season." And then the transparency will say December and maybe a 25 or something. I don't know. I haven't exactly figured out what I want to do on the transparency yet. So that little filler page is done. And we'll move on to story 7, which is just a little lunch date that my husband and I went on December 1st. I'm going to use the 3x8 card from the digital kit. Um, I'm going to do the dry embossing like I had done on the labels in the November stories. Just straightforward, just around the outside edge and around the inside edge. This 3x8 card, I don't remember what color the background was, but all I did was take out the background and kept the labels and printed it. One with my journaling. Two of them will have photos, which I masked inside that shape in Photoshop. You'll see that in a bit here. So they'll be the same shape as the label. I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit. It's just going around the outer edge, the inner edge, and then I go on the back and go around that, kind of in little circular motions just to draw out that pattern a little more, give it a little more texture. I do like the way it ends up. It's kind of cool. I kind of like doing this, and it's kind of relaxing to just dry emboss around them all. So they're all done. With that, I'm just going to cut it out now, just around. I leave a little white edge around each of the labels, just so they'll stand out on the paper a bit. They're going onto that bow paper that you see at the back there. And where the bows are kind of very light as well, and they have like a little red outline on them. I thought the little white outline on the labels would be nice. And then here's my photos cut into that shape. So they're going to fit on the inside of those. So you'll see the black lines. Again, so these ones I'm not leaving any white space. I'm cutting as close to the photo as I can, trying to keep the shape and whatnot so that there's not too much white showing. You'll see me here trimming that one just a little bit more. I was just making sure originally that it was going to fit properly. There we go. And then I'll do the next one. This page didn't take too long to make. It's fairly straightforward and simple. If I hadn't done the embossing, it would have been even faster, obviously. Literally just print out my things, cut them out, and adhere them on. So this is my larger photo. It is sized to the 3x8 size. It's actually, it's probably almost 4 inches actually wide. Yeah, and then 8 1/4 inches tall. Just gonna trim the paper down just a bit, but leaving it a bit wider than what I actually need because I'm going to sew it to the photo. I'm just going to overlap one over the other, not too far, but just enough that the stitches will catch. And then I'm just going to use some mint tape, which is a temporary kind of paper tape, to adhere that down so it'll stay in place while I'm sewing. I chose this light pink thread. It'll just kind of disappear into the background, but still add a bit of texture and interest to the page. So I've gone ahead and just done a straight stitch right down. I'm going to leave that temporary tape. It's not going to hurt anything. And then I'm just bringing my threads to the back, and then I will tie them off. You don't necessarily have to tie them. It's just a habit of mine, I feel like. Um, and it is more secure. So I will tie those down with a little knot. And then sometimes I will also put a little tape on there just to keep the ends down. Sometimes I'll bring the threads to the front and tie them on the front and just leave a little bit of the thread showing, dangling down. Just kind of depends on the layout. Now you'll see here there is an overhang a bit on the paper that I'll need to trim off, which is sometimes difficult when you are working with thread. I did end up, I think, possibly cutting into it a bit, but once I put the photo on the back of this page, it won't come apart. It'll be fine. So here I am just trimming that little bit off and then evening up the other side as well. So now that that's all trimmed down, the next thing I'm going to do is add the labels. I'm going to pull out my glue press here by My Sweet Petunia. Love this little thing. It just makes it easier to use glue. It helps with arthritis and things like that. So I'm just adding a little glue to the back of each of those photos, adhering it down onto those with my little reverse tweezers. The glue allows me a little bit of leeway and a little bit of time to position things just right, um, if they're not quite lined up. So I like to use it for more precision type things like this, where I really want it to be in the right spot. So I'm just going to add those down. Again, with the glue press, just putting the journaling in the middle, and then a photo, one on top and one on the bottom. Pretty straightforward. And here I am. I'm just trying to line them up just a bit. I could have used a T ruler, but I like to eyeball things. I'm not a perfectionist for a lot of things, but sometimes I go back and think, why didn't I use a T ruler and make that actually straight? It's fine though. They turn out okay. Just adding the third one on here. You notice I dropped that. There is a little bit of glue on the page, but it wipes off pretty easily. I didn't get that first one down just quite the way I wanted it. It was a little off compared to the others. So just again, because I used the glue, I have a little bit of leeway time. You do still have to be careful. I'm using the Nuvo glue that comes with the glue press in this one. I don't think I've put it's either that or Barely Arts glue. I'm not sure what I have in the bottle right now. Um, but both of them, they do adhere fairly quickly, but you do still have a bit of leeway time. You just have to be a little bit careful. And then I'm going to add the page in with a page attacher. So I'm just lining that up, making sure that it fits, and it does. And then I decided I needed a spot for my number. So I pulled out these little vellum stars from the star kit. They have like a little Swiss dot white pattern in them. And I'm just pulling out a few little gold stars and things. And then I went with the little red puffy letters. I love the size of these, and I love that they're red because then I can add things like gold embellishments around it and the number still pops out. So here I'm just adhering that star with the tiny attacher. Sorry, it's off screen. I had to like kind of bend the paper a bit to get it on there, but I didn't want to I just used a little tiny bit of glue, I think, in behind the number, and then use the tiny attacher to put that vellum down. And then I decided to go with the sparkly gold glitter stars here. I'm not sure. I think these ones are from this year's star kit, but I'm not sure. My stuff is kind of all mixed in together at this point already, and it's not labeled, so I'm not exactly sure which kit it's from. I wanted to move that star, but the adhesive is stuck down pretty good, so I decided to just leave it where it was and just add another little tiny one. And here I'm just fiddling around trying to find something else to put in the middle. I thought that heart was a little too bright for the page, so I ended up with the green chipboard star. I did take some of the bulk of the chipboard off the back. I'm trying to stay in one album, so anywhere I can get rid of bulk, I do. Just take a couple layers off and then adhere it down. And that'll be it for this. I'm just going to add the page to the page attacher. And this one is complete. On to story number 8. So, story 8 is my husband's birthday story. So, I'll be working on the back of that 7 story. Originally, you'll see a small photo there. Originally, I was going to do some journaling like in a pocket or a flip up, and I was going to use that photo, but decided I had a little bit more to say than I thought I would, and I decided I would print it all on vellum. I will say here, I cut it just a little bit too close to the words. I should have left a little overhang, and you'll see later why I should have done that. Um, but it's fine. It worked out in the end. Here I am just trimming down the photo. That is an odd kind of size because of the page before it. It's like 7 3/4 inches wide by 8 2/5 high, 8 1/4 high. And then you'll just see me fiddling around here. I didn't want to cut anything off the left side of the photo, so I lined it up and just marked it on the back where I wanted to cut off of that edge so that it would line up with the page attacher. You also notice that the photo is printed on the back as well. When I printed it originally, I don't know if my settings were wrong or what, but it printed it really large, and that's not what I wanted. So I used double-sided photo paper, so I just reprinted it on the back. I like using the double-sided just for that reason. If it messes up, I'm not wasting a whole sheet of paper on a photo I'm never going to use. And I'm just going to trim a little bit off the top there. I lost a bit of footage in here. I don't know if I didn't push record, but this part is a redo of what I'd already done. Um, I didn't think I was actually recording here, but all I did was did a score line on my vellum where I wanted it to wrap around the photo and adhered that on the back. And I also did a zigzag stitch in a gold yellow color down on the left side of the vellum. And then I just added a washi strip down the right side of the journaling. And that's where I said that I should have left a little bit of space on that right side because I wanted the washi tape to adhere the vellum down to the photo, but it was a little tricky, and that's why I had redone it. I had done it first, and then it didn't really catch. I was gonna leave it as just a little pocket essentially, but I decided I didn't like it, and then I went back in and carefully went along just a tiny little bit of an edge there that was left over, and it worked out just fine. It adhered well. Here you're gonna see me putting down some double-sided adhesive on the back of the photo. So there's two strips along the page attacher, and then I put another two little strips on the top and the bottom of the photo. Here I'm just going to use my little tool to take the backing off, and you'll see I bend them to the bottom, but and only just a little bit is exposed of the adhesive. And then I'm going to take my photo. Because I want this completely lined up, I'm not going to be able to fix it afterwards. I'm going to line it up exactly where I want it. And then hold it down. It's a little awkward when I'm trying to keep it on camera, but I think I did an okay job. And then I'm just gonna hold it down and pull those strips, and they'll come off fairly easily. And then now it's adhered down exactly where I want it. It's just easy to line it up that way, and then you're not trying to fiddle with it after the fact. And then I'm just going to add some ATG, the double-sided adhesive, down to the rest of the spots. And then now, because I couldn't get my ATG gun in there all the way after adhering that side, that's why I did these little strips, because now I can then just take those off, and I know it's already lined up, and just uh, adhere the rest of it. So that's done. And then here I'm just going to go in and do all the trimming that needs to get done, which is always the case, it seems. And again, I can't find my box cutter. Need to find it or get a new one because this one is very dull and I don't have a replacement blade. And I prefer the box cutter anyway. It cuts much better and lasts a lot longer than these little blades do. But it did an okay job, just not as good as I had hoped. So that's all trimmed down and good to go. So I'm going to put that to the side when it's done trimming, and then we'll move on to the second part of the layout. So this side of the layout is just a large photo. I'm just going to add a small embellishment cluster to it, making it super simple. I've sped this up quite a bit. It's just me trimming, fiddling around. So I chose this little banner chipboard. I'm taking a bit of the bulk off like I normally do. And then I just have two of the plastic presents that came in the main kit this year. I'm just lining them up on the back. I want one a little higher than the other. It's just kind of mocking it up there first to make sure it was going to fit, adding a little red line tape to the back. Then I'll add the gifts on. You'll see me fiddling with the red line tape. I always have trouble with the red line tape. So just lining them up how I want them, and then I'm gonna adhere the chipboard down and then add another little strip of the red line tape, and then I'll just adhere that down on the photo, and that'll be that. So there's no adhesive on those gifts. And then here it is in the album. I'm just gonna add that one first. I haven't punched holes in that one. I'm gonna wait until I have the other photo on the back. And then there's the 8 I had done with the embroidery and the shaker. And there's the little gingerbread cake, which I really enjoy. It makes me happy. And we'll see you for the next story in the next video. Thanks for watching.